Have you ever taken a moment to think about what comes after grief? The emotional journey of losing someone you love can feel like an unending roller coaster ride. Today, I actually want to talk about rising from the ashes and unpacking personal growth and post traumatic growth after a loss. If you're at least 1 year post your loss, and you have engaged in some sort of grief work, then this episode is for you. Welcome to another episode of the Growth After Loss podcast. I'm Dr. Madi. I want to assure you that change is absolutely possible. Even after the darkest times, hope can find its way back to you. Have you ever taken a moment to think about what comes after grief? The emotional journey of losing someone you love can feel like an unending roller coaster ride. Today, I actually want to talk about rising from the ashes and unpacking personal growth and post traumatic growth after a loss. Now, if you're in the early stages of grief or in acute grief, I understand how raw and painful this place can be. So, this episode might not be for you, my friend, just yet. However, if you're at least 1 year post your loss and you have engaged in some sort of grief work, whether it's attending therapy or maybe through a support group, then this episode is for you. So, welcome to another episode of the Growth After Loss podcast. I'm Dr. Madi, a personal growth educator after loss. And I'm really thankful you are here with me today because we're going to be diving into something incredibly important, and that is navigating the difficult journey of making positive changes in your life after experiencing the death of a loved one. Believe me, I understand just how overwhelming and isolating grief can be. But I want to assure you that change is absolutely possible. So I want to take a moment and I want you to close your eyes. Now, if you are driving, please wait till you get home or you're at a place where you can park your vehicle safely, please. I want you to go ahead and imagine, what if you could uncover hidden courage within yourself? Or maybe you can gain a fresh perspective that can actually help you take that next step forward in your life. I want you to go ahead and picture yourself possibly discovering new passions or building stronger connections with those around you. And if you can do this, my friend, try to envision finding that renewed sense of purpose that honors your loved one, even while you still miss them deeply. I want you to take a moment and think about this for a minute. Try to imagine little glimmers of light, even when everything may feel heavy for you. And let's be honest, discussing personal growth after the loss of someone we deeply love isn't exactly an easy topic. I remember feeling incredibly frustrated when people would offer words of encouragement. And I would think to myself, how can they even say that? Don't you know what I'm going through? I was in a place where my grief was so incredibly raw that I couldn't see anything beyond the pain and isolation that I was experiencing, and rightfully so. However, I really want to emphasize how important it is to give yourself time, the time that you need to adjust after a loss, because everyone grieves differently and in their own way. There's no need to rush that process because grieving and learning to adapt to a life after loss is not a straightforward process because it resembles an ugly dance of ebbing and flowing through the ups and the downs as you work towards finding a sense of normalcy in your life. Now, this dance involves integrating and adapting to this experience as you strive to move forward in life. And experiencing the death of someone you deeply love is incredibly difficult. However, we shouldn't shy away from discussing the possibility of growth after loss because exploring hope and new avenues for your life is a conversation worth having. And here's why. While enduring the loss of a loved one is heart wrenching, and the experience becomes a vital part of your life story, one that shapes us in ways we may not immediately understand. Now, in those moments of despair, you may uncover new strengths you never knew you could actually have. I know facing those painful times can be daunting, and thinking about growth is not something that you really think about. But I want you to know this: it is possible to create a life with joy and purpose and meaning, even as you learn to navigate life without your loved one being here by your side. Now, this journey is definitely not easy, and it requires time and patience and a good dose of grace because personal growth doesn't erase your experience, but it can empower you with hope and possibilities for whatever time you have left on this earth. Just as much as your loss matters, your pain matters, your loved one matters, so do you, my friend. And I am here to remind you of that. With all that said, today let's unpack personal growth and post traumatic growth after the loss of loved ones. Today, we're going to clarify some of those common misconceptions around these topics, focusing on what they truly imply. My goal for this episode is to shed light on the significance of personal growth and post traumatic growth after the death of loved ones. Be sure to stick around until the end of this episode because I have some very exciting news to share with you. And trust me, you won't want to miss this. So, before we jump into the topics of personal growth and post traumatic growth, I just want to do a quick reminder that everything we share here on this show, on this podcast, is for educational purposes, and it is not meant to substitute professional mental health support. If you feel like you need extra support, then I encourage you to seek out a licensed mental health professional. They can go ahead and help you with what you're going through. And you can reach out to services like betterhelp.com to connect you with someone who can help. Let's start off by acknowledging that at one point or another, most of us will experience the loss of someone we deeply love. And again, we have established that it can be earth shattering. I remember when I was going through my earlier grief, I really dove into listening to audiobooks. And then eventually I got to reading actual books. I was on a mission to find anything and everything that could help me in one way or another, even though deep down I felt like really nothing could. I don't know if you can relate to that, but it's like searching high and low for answers, hoping for something to make you feel better, something to make sense. But a part of you knows that nothing will do the trick, or at least that's what we often think, right? However, I stumbled upon a book called Good Morning, I Love You by Dr. Shauna Shapiro. This was my big aha moment because as I explored the book, I discovered the concept of brain rewiring, which was a new concept to me at the time. And it was something that really resonated with me. I actually have the book, Good Morning, I Love You. You can see it here. So, with this book, it gave me that realization that I didn't have to feel so miserable for the rest of my life. I know this can sound a little bit dramatic, but it was truly how I felt at that time after experiencing so much loss. I'm sure some of you have been in that place where the weight of your grief just feels so unbearable. I wanted to feel more than just that constant sorrow. I was tired of feeling so much pain every single day. Now, the idea of rewiring our brains involves neuroplasticity, which is the brain's remarkable ability to adapt and reorganize itself through life. And it reorganizes itself in response to the different experiences that we have, including challenging events like the death of loved ones. Neuroplasticity suggests that our brains are not fixed. Rather, they are dynamic structures capable of change, which can lead to new pathways of thinking and behaving. So, brain rewiring was huge for me, and it opened the door to different possibilities for me than what I was constantly experiencing. Now, in addition to brain rewiring, I came across this research on post traumatic growth, which is the phenomenon of the positive psychological changes one can experience after a life altering event. Now, this concept highlights that despite facing adversity, you can actually emerge as a stronger person with new insights and perspectives on life. Now, post traumatic growth has been a topic of academic research for over 30 years. And I actually observed it in my own research. Now, the concept of personal growth and post traumatic growth highlight that rather than merely bouncing back from difficult times, we can actually experience significant growth and change. Even the painful moments in our lives can lead to unexpected positive transformations. Before we begin our exploration of personal growth and post traumatic growth, I want to share some interesting research about grief. Studies show that individuals often experience significant distress for at least the first 2 years after the death of a loved one. A 2021 study published in the Journal of Pain and Symptom Management explored this a little bit more closely. So, the findings indicated that many bereaved individuals undergo this intense emotional pain and struggle with everyday tasks during the first 2 years. Now, this is not applicable to everybody because grieving is a deeply impersonal journey that can be shaped by a variety of factors. So I want you to think about it in this way. Each person's experience of grief can be influenced by factors such as their unique personality, the nature of their relationship with the person they've lost, some of their cultural background, and even their mental health history, just to name a few. So everyone's journey will be different. However, research has shown that having supportive relationships like friends and family or even community, including supportive groups, can provide emotional backing and practical help during these difficult times, which can impact our trajectory of grief and growth after loss. My own research supported this, showing that individuals who had a strong support system actually often found it helpful in their descriptions of how they were able to develop personal growth after the loss of their loved one. Another important factor within my research is finding early intervention, such as seeking out support to help you understand, even though it seems like nothing will, to help you understand what you're processing, what you're feeling, helping you cope with your grief has also attributed to the development of personal growth after loss, particularly in my study. Now, one participant in my research mentioned that joining a support group made her feel less isolated. And that was by connecting with others who had experienced the same type of loss. So often we might be inclined to join a support group, and that is perfectly okay. But research has shown that if you join a support group based on the same type of loss, you're able to find more connection and more relatability with others than if you join a support group that has individuals that don't share the same type of loss. So, little food for thought there. Now, on that note, I want to go ahead and begin to take a closer look on what personal growth and post traumatic growth are and how it can be experienced after the death of a loved one. We won't go into full details because there's a lot of factors that contribute to that, but I'll do a high level overview for you, my friend. Let's begin by clarifying what personal growth and post traumatic growth are not. First and foremost, these are not methods or concepts designed to rush you through the grieving process, my friend. Grieving is a vital part of your journey, and that deserves its own time and attention. So it's essential to give yourself that time, that space, and that grace to adjust to a world that may feel entirely different for you. And learning to regulate your emotions and finding personal growth after such a life altering experience takes time. Growth is not an instantaneous process, but I want you to know that it is possible. Second, it's important to clarify that discussions around personal growth and post traumatic growth do not promote toxic positivity. And let me tell you why. Because I am not suggesting that you should maintain this positive mindset regardless of what you've been through, nor am I advocating for the dismissal or suppression of emotions such as sadness and anger, because that view is far from the truth. The purpose of addressing these topics is to foster awareness and to recognize that it is indeed possible to create a life that's still worth living after loss. While grief is certainly a significant part of your journey, one that is unique to each and every one of us, it is also essential to understand that other experiences and emotions can coexist alongside it. And third, the concept of personal growth and post traumatic growth do not diminish or replace your pain. It's important to understand that certain interventions or support systems don't necessarily diminish or replace the pain someone has experienced. These support mechanisms can help alleviate some aspects of your pain. They cannot simply erase it. Instead, they work alongside the pain, helping you learn to cope while still acknowledging the reality of your feelings and the reality that you're still here, living and breathing. These are some very important points that I wanted to clarify before we actually dive in into what personal growth and post traumatic growth entail. So, on that note, let's begin. So, let's start off by discussing what personal growth is. Now, the American Psychological Association doesn't offer a straightforward definition for personal growth. Instead, it emphasizes that personal growth is the concept of a process involving self development, the enhancement of skills, and self awareness. Now, this process is intentional, so it has intentionality to it, meaning that you actively engage in practices and activities to help you improve yourself and evolve over time. So, personal growth focuses on both emotional and psychological development. By nurturing these aspects, you can achieve a much deeper understanding of yourself and the world around you. And this is incredibly beneficial because it can help you better navigate your loss. Now, personal growth is rooted in the research of post traumatic growth, which was introduced by Dr. Richard Tedeschi and Dr. Lawrence Calhoun back in the 1990s. This concept delves into the positive psychological changes that you can experience after facing a life altering event, including the death of your loved one. Within the post traumatic growth framework, there are five domains where research has demonstrated the changes that people have been able to evolve and grow after experiencing their own life altering event. They include developing a greater appreciation of life, having more meaningful relationships, having a deeper sense of inner strength, able to exercise spiritual growth, and they became more open to new possibilities in life. Personal growth and post traumatic growth highlight our ability to evolve and change throughout our lives, even after we have faced very difficult situations. Whether in grief or not, it's not an instantaneous process. Growth takes time and, in some cases, intentionality. Now, Dr. Tedeschi and Dr. Calhoun mention in their research that growth can unfold organically or it can be facilitated. And the concept of personal growth focuses on intentionality, on engaging in it. When you're going through grief, the concept of growth can feel even more daunting. It's like you're in this raw, vulnerable state, and expecting growth to happen overnight is just not realistic because growth takes time and it's about exercising patience with yourself, which can be incredibly difficult to do. I know I'm guilty of that. However, allowing growth to unfold naturally or being open to facilitating it through coping strategies and interventions, I'm talking about those intentional efforts. Again, it takes time, both in grieving and in growing after loss. It's a process that should not be rushed. So, with that being said, let's explore a little bit more on personal growth after loss. because personal growth is generally a gradual and ongoing process. And it involves learning from everyday experiences, interacting with others, and reflecting on one's own thoughts and feelings. This type of growth is often linked to small incremental changes that can contribute to your overall development. It focuses on self discovery, it focuses on enhancing your skills and increasing your self awareness, making improvements in various aspects of your life. So, again, post traumatic growth usually occurs after someone has endured a significant or traumatic life event, which can include the loss of a loved one, a serious illness, or even going through a major crisis. It actually highlights how people can emerge from very difficult situations with new perspectives and strengths. If you want to learn more about post traumatic growth, you can visit bouldercrest.org. There, you will find a lot of really good information on this topic. So, just to recap, personal growth can happen at any point in your life, including difficult experiences. On the other hand, post traumatic growth happens after adversity that has shattered a person's core beliefs. So, in my own research, I interviewed participants who had experienced the death of someone they deeply love, such as a spouse or romantic partner. So, within my research, I interviewed participants to help me understand their trajectories of their personal growth after the death of their loved ones. One significant commonality that kept coming up over and over in mostly all interviews was the passage of time. It took time for most of the participants in my research to engage in activities. It took time to develop a new sense of strength within them. And it took time to become more open to new experiences in life. And I want to make sure I highlight this because personal growth or post traumatic growth is, again, not an instantaneous or automatic reality. Everyone's journey is one of a kind. What works wonders for someone might not work for you. And that's perfectly okay. It's a part of the process. So, what I want you to remember is that I want you to be kind to yourself during your process of learning and figuring out life after a loss. I want to take a moment to acknowledge that by you being here today and listening to this episode and considering the potential for growth after your loss, you are already taking a gentle step of hope for your own life. I want to encourage you to honor your process of grief and seek out support because we are not meant to grieve alone. We are not meant to carry this huge weight by ourselves. I want you to remember from today's episode that growth and transformation are entirely possible for you, my friend. And it's important to hold onto this idea, even if you're not ready for it. It's okay. Again, it takes time, remember, because I want you to hold on to this idea because at the end of the day, you get to decide when to explore a path that leads you beyond the pain. As we come to the end of our discussion today, I'd like to go over a few important things with you, just to make sure they resonate with you. One, personal growth and post traumatic growth take time to develop. So don't rush or compare your grieving process because your path of grief and growth is uniquely yours. Two, Even when you are in grief and you cannot seem to find hope for any future, even then, you can still seek out support and find the people and the resources that can and want to help you and support you after your loss. Number three, I want you to do this. Take some time this week to reflect on what you want to accomplish for your own growth. I want you to choose one specific small goal related to your personal growth or emotional well being. I want you to write it down and break it into smaller, manageable steps. So, for example, if your goal is to improve your mood this week, then you might spend 10 minutes outside in nature. And if you can't do 10 minutes, then do 5, my friend. You can also go ahead and call a friend to talk to. Try a new hobby or activity that brings you joy, whatever that thing is for you. At the end of the week, I want you to sit down and reflect and review your progress of what you accomplish in that particular week. And I want you to also go ahead and celebrate even the smallest achievements because they matter. Now, engaging in these small and intentional actions can help nurture your personal growth after a loss. Now, before we conclude today's episode, I want to share very exciting news with you because I want to warmly invite you to join my upcoming online program, the Growth After Loss Initiative, which is scheduled for 2026. Now, this program offers a unique opportunity to help you create your own personalized framework to help nurture your personal growth after loss. And guess what? It's not only about creating the framework, it's about putting it into practice. So, these concepts within the program are grounded in my own academic research on personal development after experiencing loss. If this resonates with you and you want that extra support to find clarity and direction on what can be the next steps for you to help you support yourself after your loss, then please visit my website at drmadimarquez.com to learn more and join the waiting list. All right, my friends, we're done for today. So I want to thank you. Thank you again for being here, for listening, and for allowing me to accompany you on your journey of growth after loss. If today's episode resonated with you, please consider sharing it with someone who might find comfort in these words. I also want to invite you for you to join me on Instagram at Dr. Madi and send me a direct message and let me know how you like this episode. Remember, my friend, your loss matters. Your grief matters. And you matter too. You are important and you deserve a life that is still worth living. Until next time, take care.